To see Michael caught in a web spun by Jacinda brings back memories of those classic, explosive love triangles, but it also makes you wonder if these writers have completely forgotten the lessons our legacy characters have learned over 30 years. Are we really expected to believe that a woman who just arrived in town can outsmart the entire Corinthos syndicate and orchestrate a deadly explosion without anyone noticing the red flags? It is a stark reminder of how long-term storytelling used to weave these intricate plots over years, rather than rushing a new character into committing a massive felony just to push a plot forward. If you ask me, the most fascinating aspect of this impending disaster is the psychological shift within Jacinda. When she first arrived in Port Charles, she clearly viewed her connection with Michael as a prime opportunity, a strategic stepping stone to elevate her own status and power. However, as any veteran viewer knows, the heart is a treacherous thing. Over time, that cold calculation has melted into something far more dangerous: genuine, possessive affection. Jacinda has fallen for Michael, and with that love comes a blinding, consuming jealousy. She watches day in and day out as Michael continuously softens whenever Willow is involved. Despite all the pain, the betrayal, and the endless drama Willow has brought into his life, Michael simply cannot sever that final tie. He maintains a distance, yes, but his inherent need to protect Willow remains intact. For a woman like Jacinda, who demands absolute loyalty, seeing her partner constantly play the white knight for his ex-wife is an unbearable insult. She has likely come to the chilling realization that, as long as Willow is breathing the air in Port Charles, Michael will never truly move on. This brings us to the core difference between Michael and Jacinda, a contrast that perfectly highlights the concept of character integrity. Michael, despite his mob lineage and the dark impulses he occasionally inherited from Sonny, ultimately strives to be a good man. He wants to maintain boundaries with Willow, but he would never actively seek to destroy her. He lacks the ruthless, cold-blooded killer instinct required to eliminate a nuisance permanently. Jacinda, on the other hand, operates on a completely different moral spectrum. She is willing to cross the lines that Michael refuses to even approach. She sees his mercy as a weakness, a flaw that she must correct on his behalf. In her twisted mind, she is not just eliminating a rival, she is saving Michael from a lifetime of emotional purgatory. She is stepping up to do the dirty work that he is too noble to do himself. Jacinda is planning to take matters into her own hands, secretly plotting to remove Willow from the equation once and for all. The sheer magnitude of what Jacinda is allegedly planning is enough to make any longtime viewer gasp. We are not talking about a simple blackmail scheme or a forged document, which used to be the standard fare for romantic sabotage. No, Jacinda is seemingly preparing to orchestrate a catastrophic, deadly event. I strongly suspect that she is going to arrange a horrific explosion or a mysterious, devastating accident at Drew's house, timing it perfectly for when Willow is inside. Imagine the sheer terror of that moment. The quaint, familiar setting of the house suddenly ripped apart by a deafening blast, shattering glass, splintering wood, and sending plumes of dark, suffocating smoke into the Port Charles sky. It is a level of violence that shakes the very foundation of the town. Jacinda likely believes that by making it look like a tragic accident or a targeted mob hit gone wrong, she can wash her hands of the blood and comfort a grieving Michael, cementing her place by his side forever. It is a bold, terrifying gamble, one that relies entirely on precision and luck. But as we all know from decades of watching this beloved show, no secret stays buried forever. The most tragic element of this impending disaster is the unforeseen variable that Jacinda could never have predicted. While she meticulously plans to eliminate Willow, she fails to account for the chaotic nature of life in Port Charles. What happens if Drew is also inside the house when the explosion occurs? Drew has already been through hell and back. From surviving his time as a captive, enduring the mind control, and most recently, fighting his way back from a debilitating medical crisis and a near-drowning incident in the lake, he is finally starting to regain his footing, slowly clawing his way back to some semblance of normalcy. To have him suddenly caught in the crossfire of Jacinda's jealous rage would be an absolute tragedy. Drew would become the ultimate collateral damage, an innocent victim of a war he did not even know was being fought. If the blast tears through that house, while both Willow and Drew are inside, the consequences will be unimaginable. Drew could be severely injured, or worse, leaving young Scout to face another devastating loss. The sheer cruelty of such an outcome highlights the reckless sociopathic nature of Jacinda's plan, proving that she cares for absolutely no one other than herself. And what of Willow? If she is caught in the epicenter of this inferno, her fate will hang by the thinnest of threads. We could be looking at a scenario where Willow is left in critical condition, fighting for her life in the intensive care unit at General Hospital, surrounded by the relentless beeping of monitors and the desperate prayers of her loved ones. Or, in a truly shocking twist, she might even be presumed dead in the wreckage. A presumed death would send shockwaves through the entire canvas, drastically altering the trajectory of every legacy character connected to her. Michael would be plunged into an abyss of grief and guilt, wondering if he could have done something to prevent the tragedy. The irony, of course, is that the woman comforting him, the woman wiping away his tears, would be the very monster who lit the match. This level of psychological manipulation is incredibly dark, pushing the boundaries of what we expect from a newcomer. It transforms Justinda from a mere opportunistic businesswoman into a full-fledged terrifying villain, capable of looking the man she loves in the eye while hiding the blood on her hands. Naturally, an event of this magnitude will not simply be written off as a tragic accident. The entire Port Charles Police Department, alongside the most seasoned veterans of the town, will immediately launch a massive investigation. The explosion will be quickly identified as a deliberate act of sabotage, an intentional bombing meant to destroy lives. This is where the long-term storytelling truly shines, as the ripple effects of the blast touch every corner of the town. The authorities will initially look at the usual suspects. They will wonder if Jen Sidwell has orchestrated another revenge plot, or if some lingering enemy from Drew's past has finally caught up with him. But the truth is far more insidious, hidden right in plain sight. Justinda will have to play the role of the supportive, horrified girlfriend, attending memorials and sitting through police interviews without breaking a sweat. She will try to cover her tracks, erasing digital footprints and silencing any accomplices she might have hired. But the more she tries to bury the truth, the more she will inevitably expose her own guilt, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for the experts to follow. You simply cannot commit a crime of this scale in Port Charles without drawing the attention of the town's most formidable minds. Anna, with her decades of WSB spy training and her razor-sharp intuition, will immediately sense that something about the explosion does not add up. Anna has spent her entire life unraveling complex conspiracies, and she knows how to read the subtle tells of a guilty conscience. Dante, as a dedicated and meticulous detective, will follow the forensic evidence. He will sift through the ashes of Drew's home, piecing together the fragments of the explosive device and tracing the materials back to their source. Dante's commitment to the badge and his deep personal connection to the victims will drive him to pursue the truth relentlessly. Together, Anna and Dante will form an investigative powerhouse. They will begin to notice the slight inconsistencies in Jacinda's alibi, the forced nature of her grief, and the convenient timing of her sudden devotion to Michael. Justinda may think she is clever, but she is severely underestimating the intelligence and experience of these legacy characters who have seen every trick in the book. And then, of course, there is Jason. If there is one person in Port Charles you never want to cross, it is Jason. His instincts for deception and danger are unparalleled. Having recently returned and made a conscious decision to step away from the mob to focus on his family, Jason is highly attuned to any threats directed at the people he loves. Michael is like a son to him, and Jason will not sit idly by while Michael is manipulated by a murderer. Jason does not need forensic evidence or police reports to know when someone is lying. He can see it in their eyes. He will observe Jacinda's behavior, noting how she hovers over Michael, how she controls his environment, and how she subtly steers the narrative away from herself. Jason operates in the shadows, and he will undoubtedly launch his own quiet, parallel investigation. He will dig into Jacinda's past, uncovering the ruthless tactics she has used in the corporate world, and he will slowly connect those tactics to the brutal bombing. When Jason finally puts the pieces together, his confrontation with Justinda will be nothing short of legendary, a true clash of titans. The impending fallout for Michael will be a psychological earthquake. We have watched Michael grow from a traumatized child into a powerful, albeit flawed, adult. He has survived the machinations of Nell, the heartbreak of losing Sabrina, and the endless betrayals of his own family. But to discover that the woman he allowed into his heart, the woman he trusted to stand by his side, is a cold-blooded killer who orchestrated a bombing to secure his love, that is a betrayal on a completely different level. When the truth finally comes to light, Michael will be forced to confront the horrifying reality that his own inability to establish firm boundaries with Willow inadvertently triggered a massacre. He will have to look at Justinda and realize that her love was not a sanctuary, but a prison built on a foundation of ashes and blood. The shock of this revelation will shake him to his core, potentially altering his character trajectory for years to come. Will he revert to the darker, more vengeful impulses of his Corinthos bloodline, or will he find a way to seek justice without losing his soul in the process? If the writers truly commit to this storyline, Justinda will solidify her place as the ultimate surprise villain of the fall season. It is a brilliant narrative pivot, transforming a seemingly standard corporate rival into a lethal, unpredictable threat. In the golden era of soap operas, the best villains were always the ones who believed their horrific actions were justified by love. Justinda fits this archetype perfectly. She will not see herself as a monster. She will see herself as a martyr who did what was necessary to protect her relationship. Watching her desperately try to maintain her facade as the walls close in around her will provide months of gripping, high-stakes drama. The cat-and-mouse game between Justinda and the combined forces of Anna, Dante, and Jason will be a masterclass in suspense. Every stolen glance, every intercepted phone call, and every tense conversation will be loaded with underlying menace. We, as the audience, will be on the edge of our seats, waiting for the inevitable moment when her carefully constructed house of cards comes crashing down, exposing the ugly truth to the world. In the end, this is exactly why we remain so deeply devoted to the show, even when the storylines take us to the darkest and most unexpected places. The sheer resilience of these characters, the intricate webs of consequence, and the emotional depth of their struggles are what keep us tuning in day after day, decade after decade. While it is heartbreaking to imagine the potential loss and suffering that an explosion at Drew's house would cause, it is also a testament to the enduring power of long-term storytelling. We watch because we care, because we have invested our hearts in the lives of Michael, Willow, Drew, and the legacy characters who protect them. Whatever twists and turns lie ahead, whatever secrets Justinda attempts to bury in the rubble, we know that the truth will eventually rise to the surface. Until then, we will be right here, watching every moment unfold with the same unwavering passion we have held since the very beginning, ready to support our favorite characters through whatever storms may come their way.